coming to you from the Eastern Mediterranean. And we're in the month of angels. As last week we started looking at how to join the angel club. And we're going to continue that theme throughout all the Wednesdays in January. And tonight we have with us Sister Sona joining us from Abu Dhabi. So welcome, Sona Ben, to you. And we'd like to welcome you with some flowers, as we do every week, all the way from Izmir. Can you see them? Yeah. So this is Sister Özlem presenting them to you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Özlem. So just for those who may not know, Abu Dhabi is one of the Emirates of the UAE. And I think most will know Sona Ben, but for those who don't, here's a little bit about her. So she's been with Baba around 28 years. And she's the director of Baba's center there, the Inner Space Center, takes care of that. She was the coordinator of Baba's retreat center in Lura, in the Blue Mountains in Sydney, for 5 years, from 2001 to 2006. And something else on her resume I didn't know, she's trained as a professional translator and speaks 7 languages. I think we can make that 8 by including the power of silence. So yeah, a big welcome to you. And also Sona, I've known over the years, Sona and Mohit, Lokik husband, both wonderful, very dedicated children of Baba. And I've seen her in her real interest to sustain the Brahmin family and also to spot opportunities for service. So a very motherly heart is one of the things I've seen in her, in addition to resilience and courage to take on whatever service may come in front. And so tonight, the topic we have for her is to explore the mind of an angel. So what is that? What is the mind of an angel? How does it work? So Sona Ben, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Brother Yogesh, and hello to everyone on the Zoom call. So when Yogesh Bhai invited me to this beautiful gathering, I thought,
apologies, Sona, you're a little bit echoey. Is there anything we can do about that? Maybe you have a headphones or a microphone?
No, I don't. Is this okay? Is it better if I bring the laptop closer?
Let me just check with others who are listening. How are you finding it? Can we have some comments? Is it only me or everyone? Okay, so...
Hello, shall I just keep speaking so people can hear me?
Bit echoey. Can you say a few more things?
Yeah, could it be the instability of the internet?
It's getting better. Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it better now, anyone?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody says no. Yes. Say a few more things.
All right, well, I'll start talking and telling you a bit more about myself. Yes, my phone is open. Shall I put that on flight mode? Would that help?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. All right, so that's done.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Good. It's just the angel having trouble taking off, guys. That's all. But when Yogesh Bhai invited me for this little gathering, well, rather large gathering actually, there's a few of you online, I thought, wow, I better get my act together. What is the mind of an angel, and how far have I come towards having a mind like that? And I remember when I did the course in Australia for the second time, I did the course originally in India as a young teenager. But then when I really took Gyan seriously, I remember listening to a sister, an Australian sister, giving the course, and I used to wonder, why on earth does she do what she does? You know, she wears this white robe, the sari, and she had a really good looking job. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask her. And I did. And the next session I said, look, why do you do this? You're so pretty. You know, you could go out there in the world and get married and have a life, you know. What are you doing sitting in the center? You know, and you work only a couple of days a week, and, you know, you could be a multimillionaire. And she looked at me and she very sweetly said, because I want to be an angel. And that struck my heart so deeply that day, you know, about 30 years ago. And I thought, I want to be an angel too. And it's interesting how, you know, just holding Baba's hand, Baba's been taking me step by step towards this goal of being an angel from what we call a human or a Brahmin. So I started to practice, you know, being an angel for the last 3 or 4 days and just see what comes up very naturally. So the first thing I thought I might touch on is the meaning of angel. Many of you would know that it comes from the Greek word that means messenger of God. And so before we even go into the mind of, you know, what it is to be such a beautiful being, to understand that all the angel is doing is delivering this beautiful energy of God to his children. And I say energy because I don't think the angel really speaks or discusses Gyan. I think the angel just passes on the feeling that God, our creator, our father, our protector, would want each one of his children to feel. So there you've got a bit of an idea of what the angel does, which then would obviously at some point connect with what the angel would think, how it would use its mind. In Hindi or in Urdu, the word for angel is farishta. And Baba often talks about the word farishta, breaking it up into 2 parts. Baba says fa plus rishta means to be beyond all relationships. The interesting thing is actually farishta comes from the Sanskrit word for angel, which is prayishta. Just gets changed a little bit in the way you say it in Urdu. And I thought to myself, how on earth could a soul who is an angel not have a relationship with the world? You know, how could the angel deliver this beautiful energy from the Supreme Soul if I didn't have any feelings? I didn't have a connection with the ones to whom I am going to. And as I've been practicing in the last few days, I realized that what makes the farishta so pure is that the farishta wears glasses, spectacles, and the lens of these spectacles is the divine, the supreme. So between me and another are my spectacles, my lenses that carry God in them. Or simply put, I see the world through the lens of God's vision. I keep Baba between me and anyone else. My reason for being in this world is actually only to serve the one who he wants me to serve, to take to the ones he wants me to take to. And so, because Baba is guiding my life, I need to keep these spectacles on very well to make sure that I never create a connection that is outside his vision and that is purely my desire, or there's not even the tiniest feeling of this is mine. So the interesting thing in this relationship of the angel is that the angel only gives. The angel never takes. Whereas in a normal relationship, there's a give and take both ways. It's like the postman who comes to your home. He never takes anything from you. He comes, he delivers. That is his role. And he doesn't have any expectation to get anything back. So when are angels present on the earth? They're not around all the time. In fact, angels are always remembered at a time of need, when humanity is at its lowest, when humanity needs reassurance of God's presence. It's not just a hope of, oh, the stock markets will get better, or, Omicron will go away, or no, it's when the human soul out there, when humanity as a whole completely loses their connection with the truth. And they need that reminder. And because they're so disconnected from the one truth, the angel can step in. And when the angel gives them that reconnection back to their pure source of everything good, it is then that the angel is remembered as being such a messenger of everything good, everything that is needed at that specific time. So the angels, of course, many angels are remembered as being the angel of love, the angel of forgiveness. But I think for me, the angel often represents hope, support, compassion, mercy. And because of that memory etched in the minds of every single human being, I think most religions will remember that the day when the angels are to come upon us will definitely be here soon. So why I'm giving you this whole background about the angel is because, if you don't understand the role of someone and you don't know what they've been created for, you wouldn't have a clue how they use their mind. So if I want to understand the mind of the angel, then I first have to understand the angel itself. So as I practiced, seeing the world through Baba's eyes, allowing God to let me fly wherever he wanted me to, I realized that I stopped using my mind, actually. My mind and my heart came together. And I realized the angel actually doesn't think at all. The mind of the angel only feels. It is a mind that understands without using the head. There is an intuition built into the mind of the angel, such a subtle antenna that picks up only what is necessary and gives back. Such deep feelings or wishes or energy from the one who supports the angel, the one who's got the angel's back, which is God himself. So you could say the mind of the angel has become the heart. It's a part of the heart, because all it is doing is feeling and giving back exactly what you need to lessen your energy of sorrow or pain. The mind of the angel is the closest mind to God's mind, even closer to the deities, purely because its connection with God is the deepest in the entire cycle, even closer than that of Brahmins. In our Brahmin form, of course, we know we are going to graduate to being angels, but until we are in that angelic state, the mind is still quite busy. And yet when I become the angel, the mind has practiced the mantra of Man Manabhav so much. Complete surrender of my thoughts, a complete giving in to God's will, a complete trust in everything he does, everything he is, and everything he wants me to be, that I don't need to think. I don't even need to plan. In fact, the last 3 days have been amazing because I've hardly planned anything, which has been a really interesting thing for me because I do plan a lot. I just have that habit. So because the mind of the angel is full of his remembrance, he can take over. And actually that's the meaning of Mana Bhava. Let your mind be mine, says God. Give me your mind. Let me use it. And how much does God need to think anyway? So how much would he want me to think? He feels, he intuitively knows, and he responds with such an energy of purity and goodness that the soul is satisfied. And in fact, the mind of the other stops thinking too. So when the mind is drenched in God's remembrance, drenched, completely soaked with God's remembrance, it emerges in the soul my own deepest qualities, the qualities of love and compassion, the qualities that don't allow me in even the slightest way to see any fault in the drama, which means that I never ever feel that something or someone is wrong. There is no criticism, there is no condemnation. There's absolutely no feeling at any point in time that something negative is occurring or could happen. Therefore, when someone is going into that space of sorrow, that space of fear, a space of insecurity, not feeling safe, the angel won't feel what they are feeling in the sense that they don't take that sorrow in. But the angel just very naturally knows what is needed to nullify those feelings, those emotions. And so the angel lives in this realm with God of completely appreciating the perfection of the drama. And this is really what Man Above means. And this is why God has again and again and again, Baba has encouraged us. Before you even give me your sanskars, give me that mind. Because it's your mind that is ultimately allowing those sanskars to keep projecting out. If you can quieten the mind, the inner sanskars will have to quieten down. So give me your mind. Let me hold your mind in mine. Let the two minds come together. And when my mind and God's mind are on the same frequency, then there is only this deep, deep stillness which holds the eternal truths of the universe. The universe was created from love. It was created from this deep energy of supreme, even love is a kind of a, for me anyway, it's a lesser version of the word value. When I value something, I appreciate something to its maximum. That's where God's mind always is. Which is why Baba, he might love us, but he has the power to instill self-respect in the soul. Because I feel personally that along with his love, he has so much value for each soul. And each one of us is like a jewel. And I can't be compared with another jewel. So in the same way, along with love for humanity, value for the life of each and every being on this planet. And so the ability to respond in the most perfect way from that complete space of goodness. And as we know, every angel starts off a Brahmin. You can't jump from human to angel. You've got to go through this transition of being a Brahmin and completely understanding what human beings go through in the head. And then as we let go of the head, the knowledge in the head can then be absorbed by the heart. And only when those two come together can I turn into an angel. You know, I remember when I first came to Baba, and I've not had any visionary experiences really. Like I haven't had, trance experiences or anything like that. But there's a few strange experiences I did have in those early days. And in one such experience, I remember I was in this huge hall, this incredibly big place. And there was a brother standing next to me, and I think it was Brother Charlie. I'm not sure if it's on my own projection, because in those days I was in Australia, but I remember it was a brother. And in front of us was a hall full of Brahmins sitting on the floor. And you know the old Indian style where everybody sits in rows and then, like properly arranged. And the hall was packed full. And everyone was very close to each other, and yet there was space. And we were kind of waiting for something to happen, as though we were in this cocoon. And I remember this brother next to me leans across to me and says, "Sona, I think you need to start to sing." Now, I'm not a singer. If you heard me singing, you would all leave the Zoom call. So he says to me, "Start to sing." And in this visionary experience, I started to sing one of Baba's songs. And as I started to sing, I saw from the first row, the first person, the first soul leave their body. And as it rose out of its body, like an angelic body, it looked around at the next with a smile. And the next one left their body, looked around at the third, looked around at the fourth. And the look in the eyes of those souls when they turned to their brother or sister soul and said, "Come, join the angel clan." Is that the word that Yogesh used? But come and join us. Step into your next role. There was such a fun sense, a naughty sense of come and do this with us. And one by one, row by row, we watched as all the Brahmins flew into this angelic costume until the last row. And then I don't remember what happened. So maybe I left as well and became an angel. I don't know. But this particular visionary experience was so deeply etched in my mind. And it felt like one day, it's going to come true. And all I can think of when I remember that is the sense of we're all in this together. One angel won't take off unless the entire family is ready. And when one flies, we'll all fly. And the work of angels is never done alone. Even though we remember singular angels, Gabriel and Michael, and, every culture has their own names for those various beings. But the work of angels is done as a host. It's done together. The angel is independent and yet works in an interconnected way. Because for the world to be touched all over by this energy requires all of us to rise up to that incredible energy that God wants us to be. For the mind to be so free, I think Baba mentioned it in today's Murali, yesterday's Murali, and the blessing. The ability to be double light. So the ability to be light within myself and to maintain lightness while being with the world. The mind of the angel has to be so free from the gravity of my old karma, the gravity of my old samskars, the energy that pulls me down from that space of godliness, cleanliness, back into the need to overthink, to think at all. I remember once going in front of Dadi Janki, and I had the opportunity to see her giving drishti to a lot of souls because I was translating for her. And, we all know the magic that she did. She would give you drishti, and either the soul would be touched or the soul's questions would end. She would say, does anyone have any questions? And invariably everyone was like muted. So when they all left, when this whole group of souls left, I went to her and I said, Daddy, what are you thinking when people sit in front of you and you connect to Baba? What exactly is going on in your mind? And she said, Sona, at that point, I don't think. I just feel, what is it that the soul needs? And then I tell Baba, let me just be a conduit to give this soul what it needs. And she said, for me to be able to do that, my mind has to be completely still. She said, if I thought I would not be able to feel what you need. And when I heard this, of course, at that time, I hadn't put two and two together. I hadn't worked it out. But I realized how much she was practicing that angelic consciousness of I being guided completely, my mind being completely guided by God. No thinking from my side, complete puppeteering, Baba was completely using that part of the soul to be able to feel, to be able to send through exactly what that being, that soul in front of her needed. And it's only when the mind is so still and I have let go completely of every sanskar that can affect my mind at that point in time, that Baba can use me as an instrument and I can truly be in that space of, just the conduit, just the instrument, just the puppet. So I guess the angel has relationships with all. Because if I have a relationship with God, with the Supreme, and He is, the love of my life, then my love through Him, even without my, using imagination or visualization, my love will naturally touch nature, animals, humans, everyone and everything in the space on this earth. The angel never uses the faculty of its mind even to make analytical decisions, logical decisions, because the mind is working on a very intuitive basis, on a very subtle, on a very heart-based basis. And so it's completely picking up on energy. That's why angels are never shown on the physical plane. You know, you always see an angel flying up above. And I know that we always relate it back to consciousness. You know, consciousness is so high, but I think it also means to me that the angel works on a level that's not of the lower mind. You know, we always, I've always thought of the mind as a logical kind of instrument. But the higher mind, the more subtle mind, works totally energetically. And that's where the angel's at. The angel has a very special ability that inspires others to be able to rise up to their own complete potential, to be able to be exactly as that angel is, an instrument for the Supreme, for God. The angel knows that ultimately every human being will become an angel. At some point in everyone's journey, we have to go. We have to go from a space of being human back to either soul. And many humans are not going to become Brahmins. So we might think, well, they'll never become an angel then. They'll never be able to give and share the way we do. Possibly not. But I think in that transition from being a human back to the soul, every soul will have an experience of being free. You know, because as I heard in the Murli today, when the soul is shut down back into its seed stage, there is no love. There is no feeling. You know, it's back to being the inert seed. And yet, before all of that shuts down and closes, every soul has to come back to freedom, to love, to purity, so that it can be born with those sanskars again. And yes, of course, we all go through that rough tunnel of so-called punishment or realization, maybe. Whether you're a Brahmin or whether you're a Lokik soul, all of us have to sort out what hasn't been sorted out. But even the Lokik soul will get a little glimpse of that place of being free, of completely being, combined in God's love. And for them, that will be their angelic stage. So how am I going for time? Should we start Q&A now?
You have a few more minutes still, another 9 minutes if you like.
All right. A couple of last things that I can mention about the angel. One is that when the angel starts to work as God's instrument, one of the things that happens is that, we logically can use our mind to sort things out. And then there's a way of sorting things out or creating some sort of solution, reconciliation, only through the heart. And it's much deeper solution-focused approach. Because when I try to understand through the mind and go, oh yeah, now I understand why he did this and why she did that. It's good. It's good to know, it's good to understand, but it's very incident-based. The angel knows how to reach deep into the hearts of human beings. You know, the deepest part of the heart where the sanskaras are stored. And the angel knows how to touch so deeply that I completely am at peace with that part of me. Just as a Brahmin feels God's love, and we say that Baba's love has healed me. I'm sure all of you have had that experience. The experience where you know that if I completely turn towards that space of love and healing, I don't need to try to find solutions to all the little trivial things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Because the underlying sanskar of needing to know, needing to analyze, needing to sort things out has been removed. I mean, even that's a very human sanskar, isn't it? And in the angel's acceptance of humanity, the angel doesn't have the desire or the requirement, the need to get to the bottom of things. You know, that's how we say it in English, to get to the bottom of the matter. There's absolutely no need. Just by flying above the issues, the angel can penetrate deep into the souls and of its vision. And it can actually help that soul to work with that part of itself that has been traumatized along its own journey. So just as we allow God's light to penetrate so deep that a lot of that stuff gets healed, the angel's vision on others is the greatest balm, the greatest healing ointment that can take away the trauma that hides my own beauty, my own perfection. And that requires me to then find reason and meaning in the outside world to create peace. You know, why we need reasoning, why we need to find meaning, why we need to understand is only because I'm still relying on those things for my mind to be at peace. Whereas the angel's mind doesn't work that way. The angel's mind, having merged with the heart, knows that the peace of the heart, the peace in the heart, which comes from sanskars being healed, sanskars being put to rest, sanskars being linked to my original state, are the ultimate solution to the soul being able to hold God's hand. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I'm tired of speaking.
Okay, thank you. You've shared a lot with us in that time. There are a few questions which have appeared in Spanish, so you of all people will be able to read them directly. But let me maybe throw one in firstly.
Yeah.
We, of course, have had the great fortune of observing dadis practically becoming angels in front of our eyes, especially, you know, Dadi Janki, Dadi Gulzar in the last few years. You mentioned Dadi Janki already, but I'm just wondering if you can comment on what you saw in them, especially towards their, you know, the final times, in terms of their mind, as they were becoming full angels. How was their mind in what you saw of them? Any comments there?
I think that most of the dadis were so clever, so sharp in their mind. I don't mean that they actually overthought. No, they used their mind in a very pure, clean, productive way, but they were still using their minds. And when they got closer and closer to their angelic stage, I'm not sure if they had the realization that there was no need for the mind to be that active, or whether it just happened naturally because of their deepening of awareness of what was really needed. But all of them became stiller and stiller and stiller. Of course, in body, being older, but their energy started to become a lot more contained. And if I can say focused, which is why their drishti would pierce into you deeper and deeper and deeper. I think one Dadi who had this right from the start, who has always been an angel for me, is Dadi Gulzar. Somehow she had the ability of not using the mind in the way we see the mind being used on a day-to-day basis. She didn't have that need right from the time I've known her. Dadi Janki's mental capacity of being able to digest Baba's knowledge, it was the ultimate wisdom, which served until very close to her end. And then just the last 2-3 years, I noticed that she let go of even that. Because her identity was, as the Dadi of wisdom. We all knew that there was nobody who could extract as much sense out of Baba's Murlis as what she could. But somehow along her journey, she balanced it. So I think all of them, even Dadi Prakash Mani, in the last couple of years, as we know, went inside and let go of the mind as well. But I think for all of them, as it is, very much work in progress for me, turning the mind to Baba was the key. And that's what actually allowed them towards the end to let go of their identity, even as a specific Dadi. That's what I observed.
Thank you. So others do have questions, please do type them in the chat box. Meantime, Sona, can you see some questions in Spanish that have come up? And since you speak Spanish, you'll be able to tell us what the questions are too. Maybe you can select one or two.
There's more comments.
Okay, so no questions.
They're just more comments about what I've said or people have picked up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no questions so far.
So far, no.
All right, then it always comes down to me to create some questions for you, as often every Wednesday. Often this question comes up about the heart. The classic question: we have mind, intellect, sense, skar. So where's the heart? Today you're saying the mind and the heart merge. So what's happening there?
Well, the way I see it is my old sanskars or my new sanskars, they get triggered, as we know, from the outside world, or my, inner web of sanskars that, each one triggers the other. So say I get triggered by something. Some of us have the tendency of being triggered into overthinking. Some of us have the old tendency of being triggered into over feeling, which we call emotions. And so both the mind and the heart of a human are polluted. And whether I have one tendency or the other, both lead to sorrow. And I find that for most of us, we're quite observant of the mind. Practices around mindfulness have helped us to manage the mind better. And even things like positive thinking, very good for changing my thoughts. But I'm not sure that all of us have taken time to heal the heart. So I don't think that the heart is a part of my subconscious mind or my sanskars. I think the heart and the mind are kind of like twins. They work together. And all of us have, out of our 100%, some percentage in the tendency of using this or that. And some people even say that thinking leads to feeling. And yet some people can think one thing and feel something totally different at the same time. I'm thinking really positively, but my heart still carries a lot of burden. I think cleaning out the heart requires a huge amount of honesty, more honesty than cleaning out the head. Because the heart holds, as we know, impressions of feelings. Sometimes it's not the feeling itself, but it's the deep impressions of feelings upon feelings upon feelings. And because they've been so embedded deep into the heart is heavy. Whereas for an angel, that heart starts to get cleaned out. And when I don't have a heart with these deep impressions in it, even though the sanskar and the chit might still have some stuff, some residue, they're unable to trigger huge roller coaster emotional patterns in me anymore, or to put me into overdrive with my thinking. So I think we all have a mind and a heart, and we have sanskars, and we have an intellect. So I will just invent the soul with an extra part of the anatomy, which is the heart, the twin of the mind.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions have come in now. So one is, a direct one, how to take care of our heart then? And then there's another question after that as well.
How to take care of the heart? Well, for me personally, I suffer from amnesia now. I've reached an age where I don't remember much. So it happened quite naturally. People say, oh, do you remember, what happened? And I go, I don't actually. No, but really, I worked very hard. I worked on creating a Teflon heart. Teflon is the material they use for non-stick pans. And I just didn't want my heart to be polluted anymore, because I could see that everything I got triggered was because I kept connecting it to feelings from the past, more than thoughts of the past. As we know, thoughts you can work on. Thoughts are very superficial. You can really deceive yourself by saying my mind is okay. It's not the mind that matters alone. the heart and the feelings that lie, close to the mind are much harder to get rid of. The feelings that, the negative feelings that we carry. But I remember one day sitting and realizing that if I wanted to move forward in my own Brahmin life, I needed to let go of all old feelings. And I needed to make sure that others let go of the feelings they had about me. Because as long as they kept feeling the negativity, that they had experienced from me, it would keep rebounding in the form of energy back to me. And at that point, I really started to step out of my own persona, the Sona persona. And I started to understand the journey of others. And it became a very fascinating exercise. Just as I've often wondered how I ended up being the way I am and how my 63 births must have been, or maybe 84. I started to actually try to understand how others became as they did from a very neutral space. I don't love you. I don't hate you. It's just an interesting observation. I know in a more formal way, Baba calls it being the detached observer. But my playful nature, I love visualizing and using Gyan in a rather entertaining way in my own understanding. So I started to watch people's behaviors and think, wow, where did that come from? How did you become like this? And as I played this game with my heart, I let go of negative feelings towards people. I stopped needing to know why they were like that from my head, but I started to just understand that their heart was so bruised as well, just like mine was. And I would think, gosh, you poor little thing. How could anyone have treated you in a way in the past that you ended up being like this? And as I played this game with myself and with others, I became a lot lighter. And there was less need to carry the heaviness and the seriousness of life. That's the way I cleaned out my heart. Just as the mind deceives us, the heart deceives us. The heart deceives us in making us think that the feelings we are feeling are real. They're not real at all. And just as when you stop thinking too much, you feel free and light. When you stop taking note of the feelings that keep coming up, stop taking them so seriously. They will gradually fade and go away. So I cleaned out my own heart by these two things. One was understanding the hearts of others, and secondly, not taking my own heart too seriously. And somehow that cleared the path for both of these to quieten down. Of course, the more formal things we would say is you have to forgive, you have to forget. These are nice words, but the practice to get there, the practice is, for me at least, don't take things too seriously and let feelings come and let them flow off. Let your heart be so non-stick. Yes, things come up. No, I don't want to keep them. Let them go.
Yeah, it's quite profound what you said about the feelings. I think there's a lot we could explore there. But let me just come to two more questions that there are here. So one is this, Maribel asks, how does the rational self relate and connect to the angelic path?
I think rationalizing and understanding and logic are important in the world that we live in. We still haven't come to the end of our days. We still have time between now and the very end when we fly from this body and become an angel. And I think this is the incredible balance of Brahmin life, where we do need to understand what's happening on the physical plane using logic and rational understanding. But the angel doesn't. The angel doesn't need all that. And the reason why we can't perhaps be so angelic is because Baba still requires us in this physical world, at least some of us, to use that rational brain. But when it's not needed, not to over-rationalize, and perhaps that is a tendency of a Brahmin or of a human. The less I rationalize and the less I use logic, the more I just am and let things be, the easier things can sort themselves out and time can move ahead. Honestly, I feel sometimes we're just holding time back because we love to understand. We love to use the intellect to hold, to observe, and try to make sense of matter, which is science, isn't it? Making sense of matter is ultimately science, of the mind, which is psychology. But if we could only drop all of this, things would just fall into place and go where they're meant to be. And I would feel totally out of control. Anyway, we have no control, so I've just become an angel. So use your rational mind if it's really necessary. Use your logic if it's really necessary. But I would say if you can, try to put more percentage of your time in letting it go if it's not needed. And for me to say this is a big thing. I'm not a heart person at all. In my 84th birth, I've been very much a rational, logical, planning intellect. So it's taken a lot of courage to look in an opposite direction.
Okay, so to that question, Maribel was translating for someone else. Let's just come to the last question then, which maybe you've kind of answered already. Someone asks, what if the heart still feels closed? Is there anything else you can say on that?
Yeah. If the heart feels closed, I think you need a big cry. It probably means that you're holding some trauma or some sorrow inside still that you don't know about. There's a lovely activity that Sister Sigrun, do you remember Sister Sigrun from Iceland did? Do some of you remember her, perhaps? Many years ago, perhaps a decade ago in London, she did a beautiful art therapy workshop. Some of you might have done that with her in different settings. And, there's a lot of feelings locked in the heart that we logically don't know, rationally don't know. Just as the physical body shuts down to pain. Did you know that? When you have extreme pain, you go unconscious because you couldn't handle that pain physically. So the body shuts down and separates, your consciousness from the body to protect you. In the same way, when the soul goes through some kind of extremely traumatic experience, the heart shuts down and the heart doesn't look at it because it's too painful, which is fine temporarily. If you've been abused, if you've had any experience that felt traumatic, it may not have been something. And when you talk about it, it's like so simple. And somebody would look at you and go, that was such a big deal. But at the time, given the circumstances, perhaps given your age, perhaps given what was happening around you, it ended up being trauma. So the trauma is still there. The hurt, the deep hurt, the wound is still there. And when I went through this process with Sigrun, there was quite a group of us sisters there, actually. It was kind of psychotherapy, but it was done Brahmin style. You know, it just took me back to a memory that I thought I'd forgotten. It's a memory of feeling very rejected and abandoned at some point in my life. And from there came a lot of the more logical memories that I remember of being an Indian body brought up in the UK, a little bit of racism, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, which I kind of managed to get rid of. Again, Gyan hits the head, right? So we can use Gyan and sort all of that out. But I hadn't been able to clean out the way I felt because I actually didn't remember that it was still there. And through this beautiful exercise, this art therapy exercise that Sigrun took us through, I cried a lot. And I realized why my sanskar of feeling rejected was still there. And I'm not saying that any of you need to go through therapy. Maybe it was only me. But something about going within and feeling what is in the heart, opening up the doors of the blocked heart was very useful. What was the exercise? It sounds quite simplistic. So you kind of talk to yourself through a meditation. You allow Baba to be with you at that moment. And you take your mind back to a time when perhaps there has been some trauma, some pain. And somehow with Baba's, sweet interference, guidance, because the soul wants to sort itself out, as the person asked, what can I do? Obviously, you still can't feel love, you still can't feel open, something is still there. Baba will help, and so at that point in time, Baba takes you back to where your emotions are still stuck, the trauma is still stuck. I'd be so happy to help and facilitate anyone through this exercise. Even if we have to do it on Zoom, it's fine. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in it at all. I'm sure there are others who might be. But because I had an experience and it helped me, I realized that sometimes even seniors, they say if you can't get rid of the block with just Gyan and yoga, it's worth exploring anything that can help to go deeper within. Because sometimes, with the kind of sense of, Baba's Gyan will sort me out totally, we just use a lot of time. Could I use the word we waste a lot of time just going around in circles? Whereas sometimes something a little bit, different can help to crack the coconut. Recently, I was in a beautiful retreat with Brother Ken over 3 days. It's a new retreat that he has come up with, which I think will be offered to the Brahmin family soon, but he's trialing it in Australia. And by virtue of the connection I have with Australia allowed me to be part of this retreat. And he did some simple exercises around your personality basis. You know how they have those personality tests? And he did one of those with us, and it made it very clear why we have conflict in the Brahmin family. It made it very clear why we have, in some centers, a lack of initiative to do more. Some centers are so motherly and so sweet, and you wish you could just lie on a couch and be there forever, and somebody would put a food in your mouth, and somebody will put a drink in your mouth, and it's so beautiful, it's peaceful, it's Brahmin life. But the center doesn't progress. And Ken, by in a very jovial way, helped us to realize that we need a little bit of everyone and a little bit of everything, all skills to move us forward, to bring the finish line closer. We need a bit of planning, we need a little bit of doing, we need a bit of love, and we also need initiative. we need to think outside the box, the 4 different, I'm just remembering in my mind the 4 categories. Yeah. So, sometimes I think it's nice to do these creative things in a safe space. And if you want my connection, please go back to Brother Yogesh. He has my WhatsApp and my email and my everything. But if I can help in any way, a blocked heart is it's painful. And also it probably means that the soul is not able to completely fill itself with Baba's love. And, who doesn't want to be able to allow Baba's love to penetrate even deeper? The class or the retreat with Brother Ken is called Dharna-based leadership. It's very new, as I said. And I think he's trialed it in Australia. It's a 3-day retreat, full 3 days, 6 hours a day. It's very intense. And for me, being in Abu Dhabi, I was waking up at 2:30 in the morning to join, which was a lot of fun. But back to being, the angel and the heart. If the heart of an angel is blocked, then how can the mind collaborate and become part of the heart? You would be feeling, I'd rather use my mind because at least it's in a safe place. My heart is blocked. I think the ultimate aim is for both of them to be completely cleansed. So if I can help, I will.
Okay, thank you, Sona Ben, and lots of very appreciative comments. I think because you've shared very honestly your own personal journey, lots of gems have come out and everyone's hearts have been touched. Lots of appreciation from everyone for a very, very rich and full hour or so in which you shared very profound things with us. So what we like to do as we finish is we go to gallery review. Would you like to see the angels who are here listening?